Hello everyone, welcome to the Property Empress podcast. This is season 4, episode 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm here today with the Property Empress, Anna. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. My name's Drew, but you know that anyway. So we're getting close to the end of the season. We've done quite a lot of technical things, as you pointed out, off mic. Just
no,
before
what
we
I
started.
said was we do really heavy subjects.
Yeah, I was making it sound a little bit nicer. Although I've come down and I'm just way too serious for this podcast, and I just bring boring, technical, heavy, detailed podcast content. So we're trying to lighten up our podcast today.
I'm going to edit that. We'll try to lighten up.
Try to lighten it up. So today we're going to go a little bit different, and we're going to be asking AI.
Yeah.
This was your idea, wasn't it?
This was my idea.
What does it mean?
Well, because I was doing a live on TikTok a couple of weeks ago, and so there's someone that because I do property Q&As, just in case you don't know about my lives, and so people can ask questions, and I keep it very open. You know, even if you're not a landlord or property investor, you just have general questions like anything. You know, I'm like you can ask me anything, absolutely anything. And I was getting these incredible questions, and I was like, I smell something smells fishy here. And I was convinced, and I'm still convinced that it was an AI. I'm not very techie with stuff like this, but I'm convinced it was an AI generated questions. And I did say, I was like, this sounds like AI, is this, you know, and they didn't say, but I think it was. Yeah. So when we were trying to lighten up a little bit, I was like, why don't we do get what's it called? Chat GPT to ask us questions. Yeah. And
ask questions about property.
About property, yeah.
Good.
And you were a bit like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't think of anything else to do.
Nothing that wasn't heavy, apparently. I think this is a good one. I think this is really good because I see this about it's getting brilliant, this AI stuff. Let me tell you, the ChatGPT 4, which is the paid version, and it's the kind of the advanced, more up-to-date version of this, is really becoming indistinguishable from humans in its questions and stuff like that, and how it phrases things. We're going to use 3.5 today, which is the old one, which is dated up to September 2021 in its responses, so it doesn't have really up-to-date current news or any kind of changes to anything after that date. But it still gives a really good idea of some pretty solid questions that we can ask property investors who should know what the answers are. So we will find out here. We haven't tested this, by the way. This isn't scripted at all. We haven't asked it anything. We were doing it live on the podcast to see how good / bad our property knowledge is in this, so this might be the last ever podcast we do. Yeah. We're showed up as the charlatan fraudsters that we really are. Or it might actually enhance our reputation. So we're putting everything on the line of some AI questions.
I like how you're managing expectations from the get-go.
Well, there's the two extremes there. Nowhere in between.
Yeah.
It's win or bust for this. So I've got it set up here. I'm going to ask it some questions, and
we literally haven't even discussed
what we're going to
ask it. I think it should be what would you ask? I don't know how do you say what would I ask? I mean, I never call myself a property guru or anything like that, but people when they're kind of going, oh, call yourself a property guru. No, not really. But I want those kind of questions. Like, what would you ask a property guru?
Do you call yourself a property guru? Or do you mean...
Maybe I should start with, how does this work? Am I meant to say, what would I ask a property person?
It's sort of like, and in fact it is with the Bing search engine. It's a search engine for answers, but you can kind of, how I use it, because I use it for my work, and I use it to give me detailed information rather than a Google search where you would just type in something you're searching out, like properties in Slough or something like that, and it comes up with any kind of search results for that. With this, it's more kind of written responses. If I was to say, what's a good strategy to start investing in Slough, it will give me the details for that. So
I feel
you
like
ask
we
it a
should have
question. It's
discussed
like
this more before we
Okay.
came live, because I thought it was going to be what should I ask a property expert,
Okay.
but you're
So
going
it's
to
AI, AI Empress now.
But yeah, are you thinking more like us versus AI?
No, I want AI to give us the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Go. So
and then
yes.
actually, if you want to, at the end, we can ask questions to them and see what their responses are.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you know more about this
Okay.
stuff. This stuff.
Okay.
Do you want to come up with the first question?
Okay. So I guess we do just ask it a simple one. What's a good question to ask a property investor who runs a podcast?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Hold my mic.
This is going to be fascinating listening. I feel like we should switch to elevator music. Oh, I should feel like I should rate. What's a good question to ask a property investor on a podcast?
Thank you. Right.
So
maybe we should have pre-written this after all. We shouldn't have just left it a surprise. Sort of
also,
the dead
it's
air.
a really long response.
No problem. We got this. All right. So asking a property investor a compelling question on a podcast can provide valuable insights for your audience.
Oh.
That's you guys. Here's a great question to ask. Ready for this? If I ask you this, you have to answer it then.
Okay.
Okay. What key strategies or principles have played a significant role in your success as a property investor? And how can our listeners apply them to their own investment journey? You know what this is? This is an AI voice activation away from cutting me out of this podcast completely.
Do you know what else this is? That's the question that guy asked me on the live.
Oh, yes.
That's what he asked me.
The
He
free
said,
version of ChatGPT and pick the first question out.
he said, what key strategies or principles have played a significant role in your success as a property investor? That's what he asked. I don't think he then said, and how can our listeners apply them to their own investment journey? He might have done. I can't remember. He definitely asked that. So yeah.
What's your answer? What's your answer to that?
I can't remember exactly what I said, but basically, and I like the question because it talks about strategy and it always starts with strategy. So what key strategies have played a significant role? So for me, your property strategy is based on what you're aiming for, what your whole intention. Property is a tool. What's your whole intention? So when we started, we had some debt that we really wanted to clear. We wanted to build a passive income because you were out of a job. I thought I was about to lose my job, which I actually did a few months later. So our strategy, what key strategies was, we were flipping because we needed to clear the debt, and we were building a passive income because we wanted to support ourselves if I lost my job. So that was our strategy. That's how we So that's how we started. And then beyond that, we've been very focused on strategies. Always, what are we trying to achieve? And therefore, what property strategies will work for us. So yeah, I think, does that answer the question?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's a good question for certainly to do a podcast, to just give people a bit of an insight to how you started your journey and how you were investing in the first place. Plays a significant role in your success is your strategy. So every property investor has a specific strategy to invest in, and it's just making sure that you stick to those that strategy and the rules around it to make sure that you're successful. So it's really asking how you started, and I think we had the same answer, which is flipping strategy to build significant chunks of income to clear debt and give ourselves a bit of a base to build a portfolio. Exactly what we did. Good question.
Cool.
So now that's the questions on there. I can ask it to just ask a different question. Yeah. Simply, and we'll see.
It'll be hilarious if it's the same second question this other person asked, but yeah, go for it.
Do you know what these other questions are?
I can't remember. When you started reading it out, I was like, that's what I was asked. Okay.
Let's do it again. Hold my microphone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Here's another thought-provoking question for a property investor on your podcast. Shall I ask you again? Or are you going to ask me this?
If I can read it from here. As an experienced property investor, you've likely encountered various challenges and obstacles along the way. Yeah, I think this is the same one again. Okay. Can you share a specific instance when you faced a major setback or difficult decision in your investment career, and how did you overcome it? What lessons did you learn from that experience that others can benefit from?
First property we did. We started painting it ourselves.
Yeah, that's very good, actually.
Stupid move. Yeah, we were very new and we'd found a really good cheap property that we were going to flip. Really wasn't that much wrong with it. Structurally, it was completely sound. The kitchen was okay. The bathroom was all right, but it was just dated, out of old-fashioned looking. It needed a clean up. We didn't have to change suites or anything like that. Probably the worst thing about that was it didn't need that much change because we thought we could do it ourselves. And I think the biggest obstacle was trying to cut corners and save money, but actually end up costing us money because we spent a good 2 or 3 weeks just trying to peel one wall of wallpaper off of the living room. And we're like, well, this is taking ages because we back-to-backed our first property. So we'd got one and we had a second one in negotiations when we'd got the keys for the first one. So we knew the second one wasn't too far behind, but we were still messing about in this first one, trying to do the work ourselves. And I think the setback or the obstacle was that we were not able to proceed any further quickly like we wanted to do because we were holding ourselves back with the first property. But we got a builder in and he quoted cheaper than we thought it was going to be. And he did it, like he stripped in a day and then plastered and painted in the next 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
It was done in less than a week, the whole thing, painted and decorated. And all we had to do was dress it after that. And it saved us, we spent weeks doing basically nothing in the house. And we just got a pro in to do it. And he sorted it out in a few days. It just accelerated us. And we were able to then move on to project 2. We also had project 3 lined up, which is one of these processes just comes back to you when you put loads of offers out. Something comes back, and that had that third one out there as well. Who knows how many we would have been able to get if we were not messing around, not looking for properties, but actually trying to just do a property up ourselves at the beginning. That's not where our skill set is. We are investors. We're not decorators or maintenance guys or builders at all. That's not what we bring to it. We bring the ability to find the deals, and I think we were massively hindered ourselves at the start by trying to do that. So the lesson learnt there is don't try and do it yourself. Find the guys that are far faster, far more professional and better at it than we were. So that's what I learnt from that, is that we were able to just carry on doing what we do best, which is finding the deals, and then have a team around you that can do all the other stuff and make sure that we are utilising our skills the most effectively.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, completely. Yeah. Next question.
Okay, another one. So I'll ask you this one then. Real estate markets can be dynamic and ever-changing. How do you stay informed with the latest trends, market conditions, and emerging opportunities in the property investment landscape? And how do you adapt your investment strategies to capitalise on these changes?
Oh, that's interesting. In terms of staying up to date with it, it's definitely for me. It also actually does depend on the phase we are going through. Because if we went through a long phase where we were focusing on the Airbnbs, for example, and I wasn't keeping, I was to a certain extent, but I wasn't overly researching the property market and things like this. I kind of knew property prices were, going up significantly, and it just wasn't the market for me or us. It wasn't our strategy. It wasn't a great market for how we do things. But then as soon as, base rates went up, mortgage rates went up, prices coming down, we've gotten back into it. So now I'm far more involved. So it does depend on our phase of investing, but certainly this year we're very active. We're buying new houses. We're getting on more Airbnbs. In terms of staying on top of it, doing social media has helped enormously for me because I need to keep on top of it a bit more than I needed to when it was just me doing it, I suppose. But I speak to my mortgage broker daily about stuff, so he tells me what's going on. I don't listen to the mainstream fear mongering, so I will go on so I get updates from the Monetary Policy Committee about base rates. There's a guy who I watch on TikTok who does a weekly mortgage market update, which I find really useful. If I can remember his username, I'd share it, but I can't think what his name is. I'll have to think about it. So yeah, mortgages, I kind of speak to my guy, see that guy once a week. I'd look at Land Registry. I look at the Rightmove house price indices, so that I know the facts, not the narrative from the media.
Bank of England base rate. That's something that's quite important to check each month, I think. Particularly at the moment where it just keeps going up. It's 14 in a row now, isn't it? But that's like, that gives you a good indicator of what's going on in the market in general, and outside property as well, just the general financial market. But that's just one of the alerts that is an important one to keep a tag on for when you're doing your research.
Yeah, you can have notifications so they land, because they're every 6 weeks, the Monetary Policy Committee. So we had one last week. I've not even done any videos on it because I've been feeling a bit under the weather. But yeah, every 6 weeks. But you can also, there's even things and it's something that I do now that rates are moving so much, you can read the minutes from when they decided whether to put the rates up or not, because it gives you an idea of what's going on. Like if 3 of them are like, no, I don't. I mean, it's not happening at the moment. But when we had record-breaking low interest rates, you will have a couple of them going, I really think we should be putting rates up. And you can get a sense of where it's likely to go. So even reading the minutes, getting the, bulletins, like the updates saying whether they've gone up or down or stayed the same. In terms of keeping in with the local market, I mean, we just have there's certain estate agents I'll call, and I know I can talk to them what's going on with you guys, take it with a pinch of salt, bless them. But yeah, speaking to estate agents in terms of as the market moves, particularly now that prices are coming down, rates are going up, now it's going to be more direct to vendor, it's going to be more auction properties and things like that. There's better deals to be had. So for that's a whole different ball game. So now we're going to be adjusting our strategy to be getting the cheap houses, because people are really struggling to sell at the moment, and that's when we can come in, we can offer a service.
Yeah.
Right, I want to make a slight, because these are all very general. Something I would be interested to know is things like how can you, what creative options to buy houses or something.
So do you want to ask ChatGPT a question?
Yes.
What question would you like to ask?
There's a couple of things. So everyone talks about the BRRRR method or the recycle your money method or rinse and repeat. I'm curious what it says. How can you do, or however you want to phrase it, but how can you recycle your money? How can you do the BRRRR method with property? What are the steps to pulling all your money out of property deals? Maybe that.
What are the steps to pulling all your investment money out of a property deal?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, Mike.
Thank you. Or it is detailing the steps, or we should maybe be succinct. We're up to step. Oh no, 8 steps.
Right, let's read it out. Pulling out all of your investment capital from a property deal is often referred to as recycling your capital, or doing a cash out refinance. It involves refinancing the property to access the equity you've built up and converting it into cash. Here are the general steps to achieve this. 1, evaluate the property. 2 is determine loan eligibility. 3 is appraisal. 4 is gather documentation. 5 is apply for the loan. And 6, underwriting and approval. I mean, this is
how to refinance.
This is physically the refinancing. Okay. 7, the closing process, and 8, receive the funds.
So how do you find a property? Knowing, how do you find a property where you can pull all your money out in 6 months or something?
Okay, hold on. Finding a property to pull all your investment money out within 6 months in the UK can be a challenging task, but it's not impossible. That's what we've said. Yeah. They don't come around every day, but it is something you can do. Here are some strategies to increase your chances of achieving this. Look for off-market deals.
Yeah, that's very good.
Target distressed properties. Focus on high appreciation areas. Utilize bridging finance. Negotiate with motivated sellers. Focus on high yield properties. Be proactive with lenders. That's beginning the mortgage application process early. And be prudent with refurbishment.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all steps you should be doing anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
Should I say how I would say to do it?
Okay.
Basically, for me, it would be... I'm laughing because all I can think is I always use the same example, and I'm like, should I say it again, or our listeners sick of it? But basically, you're trying to buy it. I'm not going to use it. You're trying to get a genuinely below market value property. Yeah. So if the neighbour in the same condition sold for 100 grand, you want to get it for 85 grand. So you wanted an actually discounted property for that condition. You then want to add value. You want to add 20 grand's worth of value, but only spend 5 grand on the renovation. Then in an uplifting market, you want to let that price go up And it goes up those 3 ways are the way. So discounted, renovate, and then allow uplift are the 3 ways that you can then get the value up enough that you can refinance to pull your money out. And then if there's not an uplift, like there's not, in fact, it's the opposite, it's going down, you need to rely more heavily on the first 2. Yep. And there's things that you can do. And to find a discounted property, it's direct to vendor, auctions, or established relationships with estate agents to get this significantly discounted property. So that's how I would say it.
Okay.
How would you?
Yes, I mean, I think it makes a good point about off-market deals and distressed properties, but, you know, the two should be together. You should be looking for people who are selling off-market and are distressed, either the seller or the property itself. So those two kind of come together. High appreciation areas is not, I don't know, if you're using a market that's an uplift of the, you know, if the markets are on an uplift, then it's something you would look at. But you don't want to rely on the market doing it too much. You should be doing your work on getting the deal in the first place, not relying on out external sources which can change. Bridging finance, sort of short-term quick finance, is a good way to do it. Yeah, negotiating with motivated sellers is the same as what we'd call, we'd put that under the distressed bracket, so it would kind of just be the same thing. Proactive with lenders, I kind of get that, but it's not buying you that much time, because you will have particularly we have a broker, because we're established, that we would use, and as soon as the property deal is agreed, we just pull the trigger on that anyway, and it doesn't save a lot of time. There's no good trying to get lots of lending and stuff on properties that you perhaps never going to get. You might end up, in fact, spending money on surveys and stuff that you don't need because you're not buying.
I think, was it more to do with making sure you can do it within the 6 months, that it doesn't roll over? Because we just try to do it in a short time scale.
No, it's literally proactive with lenders to pick lenders known for quick processing times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Be prudent with refurbishment, which you should always be anyway. You are sticking to a budget on that. You don't want to be over budgeting on that. That's your profit if you spend more than you had planned originally. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a bit expanded.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that many points.
And also, I think a lot of people would think they're following that, and it wouldn't get them pulling their money out of a deal. Yeah,
there's a big part of it is to pull all your money out of the deal. The biggest thing you can do is negotiate a low enough purchase price.
Yeah.
And that is doing a due diligence on how much refurbishment it needs as well. And you still need to be able to pull enough to make it market value with the cost of the refurbishment included. So it has to be, say it's 100 grand and you can borrow 75 grand. You have to be able to buy it for less than 75 grand, 70, 65 even. And you have to know that that's going to go through, because you've still got your fees for processing, any lender fees, solicitor fees, etc. But you've also got your refurb fees and the dead time as well, because you don't get the keys on Thursday and then on Friday it's back on the market and sold and your money comes in. You need to allow for the processing time in between. So it does need to be sort of 35-40% below market value to be able to do that. And like it says, it's hard, but not impossible. We've done it. We've had like 45% below market value before. They're there. They don't come around every day because everyone would be doing them. You just got to know how to look for it.
Exactly. That was the key. The key, honestly, is getting the discounted properties, which is, like I said, direct to vendor auctions or established related. Like, we've had it where estate agents have literally phoned us. Like, I'm thinking of Darlington, where they've literally phoned us and said, this offer has fallen through. It was a ridiculously low offer. And then they couldn't get lending. I was like, if it was that good an offer, you'd get lending. And then we realised they just didn't realise that it was a good offer. And they were like, literally, do you want it? Otherwise, it's going on the market. They didn't want... The reason that they did that was the estate agent really felt for the people selling, and they were very distressed. They really wanted to sell quickly. This other person had messed them around. He was like, I don't want anyone to mess them around, and I know that you guys will follow through. So we were like, yes, please, thank you very much. Took on the property and bought it. So it was great. It was great. It was a really good. It was a really good property. And we were very grateful for that. But that, again, this is when I say established relationships with estate agents, because some people get really upset. Oh, how could he do that? But he was doing what the vendor needed and was asking for, and he came to us, and that's the relationship you want with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's these rarely come about on your first deal.
Yeah.
This was our 5th or 6th deal we'd done, and we'd done 3 deals with the same agent already. So that's why they came to us, because we were turning stuff over. And then this was in 6 months we'd been turning this over. It wasn't like 3 deals in 5 years. We were doing it quick. We were wholesaling properties. So he knew that we were keen and growing. So that's why he did it.
Right, I've got one more question, and then we can finish, because I really want to talk about next week as well.
Okay, cool. So have you got a question for me to put in?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to, unless you have
No,
a bit of that,
it's,
is it good time to buy?
in the UK now.
Oh, is it a good time to buy, or does buy-to-let still work? They're the two that people ask me. Is it still a good time to buy? Is it a good time to buy, or is it a good time to start investing? Is buy-to-let dead? Something around there. I'll let you decide.
Okay.
Is buy-to-let property investment dead in the UK? Cool.
This might go back to September 2021.
Oh, of course.
We'll see. We'll see what it says.
Yeah.
Right, it has generated as an AI language module. I don't have access to real-time data. My knowledge is limited to when? September 21. Anyway, as of that time, buy-to-let property investment in the UK was still a viable option for many investors. However, the property market can experience fluctuations due to various factors such as economic conditions, government policies, and market demand. The buy-to-let market in the UK has seen some changes in recent years, particularly with regard to tax regulations and stamp duty. We're often talked about taxing, aren't we? We get taxed a lot, which have impacted the profitability of buy-to-let investments for some landlords. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic effects might have had an impact on the rental market and tenant demand. I don't agree with that. I don't think the tenant demand has been diminished by COVID-19.
If anything, it's more.
Yeah, I think there's a shortage of houses and a continual increase in the number of tenants who require properties.
Especially in the south, like Midlands and North, there is still a shortage, particularly for people with, who don't fit the exact referencing criteria. But certainly in the south, I think it's really hard because it just doesn't really work. Buy-to-lets don't really work in the south. You only have accidental landlords who get sick of it after a couple of years.
Well, it's more densely populated in the southeast or the south of England, and more expensive.
Yeah.
So those two together make it difficult for people to get on the ladder or just rent. Yeah, that's kind of what I think about that, really. I kind of don't disagree that the tax regulations make it harder than it was. Certainly harder now than it was when we started.
Do you remember, though, when we started, everyone was like, oh, buy-to-let's dead because you can't do no money down deals anymore?
Yeah, but buy-to-let's always about to be dead.
That's what I mean,
lo and behold, people still need to rent houses.
Yeah. But also, when you realise that, like most a lot of very wealthy people invest in property, so they pay their advisors as well, who help them to maintain their income. Yeah. So if you do it right, if you do it in the right property, the right area, structured correctly, understanding the market-proof your portfolio, there's no reason why it shouldn't keep working. Because again, you want to be investing in the assets that the rich are investing in, because they're the ones. It's like with the property prices dropping. All the government people, all the people in government, all the rich, all invest in property. They're not going to let it go below a certain level. All the banks, it's all their collateral. They're not going to let it go below a certain level.
I mean, buy-to-let is always going to be there. It's always going to have a demand. And what people are comparing it to is times where you would make a lot more money off of it. But remember, those times were less regulated, I think, less controlled. So actually, the good thing about now is the regulations that are in there just make landlords more responsible for their tenants and looking after them. I think the fact that they say that the market is not worth doing anymore is because the people that started doing it were in a very different position to what they are now. So they don't make as much anymore. But I don't agree. I don't think I'll ever agree that the market isn't worth doing, because the market is always, as I said, it's always needed to rent. And people aren't buying property. Well, you shouldn't be. If you're a professional, you shouldn't be buying property assets for the short term anyway. They go up phenomenally highly over, average they double in 10 years. Some areas it takes less time than that. Sometimes some areas a little bit more, but it's around that as your marker.
It's on average, yeah.
So I think it's it makes a lot of money doing property long term.
And you can leverage. It's like, as well as it going up in value, you can leverage. So if you're going to buy, like, because someone, I don't know if I said this, someone said in my live not too long ago, they were like, if you put 100 grand into a property in London, 100 grand into some other asset, they go up the same. I was like, yeah, but you wouldn't you'd put 100 grand in to a 400 grand property. I was like, you can leverage. You can't do that with the other thing. I was like, you're not comparing like with like. And also, if I had 100 grand, I wouldn't invest in London. I'd invest in the Midlands. I'd get an income and an uplift. Yeah. So even with their example, I just tore it apart and was like, you've proved my point. The best asset class you've come up with, or like, well, it's the same, or, you know, whatever, and it's less risk, it's less tax. I was like, yeah, but you're investing in the wrong properties. This was exactly my point. Invest in the right properties, the right area, leverage, and it blows every other asset class out the window.
It's very much what people want from their investment as well, because you can buy assets outright. And if you've got lots of money that you want in an asset, then it does work in London, because you buy them outright and leave it. If you're leaving it for 20 years, and it's always going to go up in London.
There's a specific strategy in London that rich people use. Like, people who want to offset their tax will invest in a property in London with a negative cash flow, knowing that actually it's going up over the long run. But in terms of income tax, you can get like a negative cash flow, and it offsets. Like, so you're making money, but you can take, it's a tax advantage, because for income tax it's a loss, for capital gains it's a growth. But if you want to offset your income tax, you can invest in it. It's genius. Again, when you have lots of money, you have the right right advisors. You know, it's like follow the money, I suppose, isn't it?
Very good. So the answer is no. Buy-to-let is not dead. Anyone listening to this podcast will just be wanting us to say that anyway. Obviously, it would be a little bit mad of us, unless this was our final podcast. We'll say, actually, yes, buy-to-let is dead.
See you later.
Goodbye.
But never say never. No. This is the thing. Never say never. It might genuinely get to the point where we're like, do you know, I just isn't. And again, I don't think it would ever be, it doesn't work. It just wouldn't suit us anymore. It would, for us, it would be, we found something else that works better. It's not that it doesn't work. You're exactly right. You have to match it. Is this what you're after? Because passive, honestly, I feel like I'm getting on my soapbox now. Everyone I speak to, I do a lot of calls, a lot of strategy calls, a lot of discovery calls with people who are interested in doing property. I've never met someone that's like, I'm not looking for cash flow.
No.
Like, everyone, even I've had clients with £1 million in savings. Their strategy is cash flow. I've had people who are, you know, in the position we're in, loads of debts, one income, you know, living hand to mouth. Their strategy is cash flow. Everyone's strategy is cash flow. A passive income cash flow that you can get from property, I can't see why it wouldn't work for absolutely everyone. The only thing is it's slow. So in which case, do rent to rent. Then it's a higher cash flow. It's quicker. It's, you know, it is a bit more active, but it's still fairly, you know, you can systemize it and make it fairly passive. So I'm always like, I haven't met anyone where I just don't think property's them, unless they have this real thing about you can't own property. But I'm like, I think that. I'm like, how can you own land? We don't, you know, we are living off Mother Nature. It's not us to own.
All right, Swampy.
But for me, I'm like, you know, I'm the guardian of that particular portion of land, and we live in a 3D world where this is our rule. So, I mean, I get it. You know, for some people, it's just not something they want to do. I get it. It's fine. But in terms of an asset class, I don't see why it wouldn't work for people. It goes up in value. You don't need to have any money. It gives you passive income. Beautiful. And there's loads of different ways you can do it. You can flip, you can source, you can do buy-to-lets, HMOs, social housing, service accommodation.
It's incredibly diverse. If you want to make money in property, it's incredibly diverse. And that's anything from just having investments to making a wage to working in it and, you know, getting a monthly income from it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Who won out of the podcast and Chat GPT 3.5?
Well, it was they did better than I was expecting, because I thought it would be, I mean, it was a little bit general. It wasn't very clear. But I think they did better than I was expecting.
Done, artificial intelligence. I might have to fork out £17 or whatever it costs to get the version 4.
Yeah.
You can do it on Bing search engine as well. It's on ChatGPT 4 there for free, so we can try that.
Oh, why didn't we do that?
Because this is the one that you can see all my notes of all the things that I use it for.
Ah, cool.
Airbnb, Boost Visibility, Planner. response to guests. Yeah, I use it a lot. I shouldn't say that one. Maybe cut that bit out.
No,
I
it's
use
fine.
it.
It's good.
What I use it for is I draft responses which are succinct and clear. I draft my descriptions for my properties, and I also use it just to set general business plans for my projects that I do, whether that be trying to increase visibility on Airbnb or some of my other stuff that's outside of property as well. I just set plans with it. It's pretty good. This is just the basic version though. The advanced version gives you lots more, and that's not even to mention like the pictures and the photos and website building and stuff like that. It does all of this stuff. I sent you one yesterday, didn't I? Which you'd be able to use from this one onto TikTok.
Yeah,
so it's an AI cutter, so it strips, cuts and edits shorts.
Yeah, like takes longer videos and make them short, doesn't it?
So
cool.
You might see this on TikTok.
Yeah.
Short version.
I have to say though, like, because I did my course, I think you might listen to this podcast, so apologies if you're listening. But someone, because I always ask for feedback, after when I run courses, and I got a really long, a very quick response. It was very long and it was very beautiful. I think I said to you at the time, I was like, it's beautiful. And I went, I think this is AI. Yeah. I didn't say anything to him because I was like, it's good feedback. And I'm trusting that he put, how do I give good feedback? Like he gave, so his intention was there. But I still think it's obvious when it's AI.
Yes, I think so. But I think the gap is closing on that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Maybe on the newer one, it's a little bit.
There are other sites. This is a basic site. We did this really for the purpose of doing this podcast and kind of test it out a little bit because it is still fairly new technology. But there are already websites that can make indistinguishable questions and writing from a human being. And it's just only going to get more and more better as the robots take over.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. Okay. But I like the fact actually we've done AI this week and next week we're going to the listener questions.
For humans.
For humans. Questions for humans from humans and answered by humans. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Now, but actually, if you've heard this one and then you tune in on our live and you ask us a question like that, we know now. And everyone who's listened to this will know as well. And any comments in the chat will probably highlight someone using an AI bot to question us.
Exactly. So next week is our final episode of the Property Empress podcast, season 4. With our new co-host. Thank you so much. Yeah. We thought we would end the season with doing something slightly different. We're gonna still do a Property Empress podcast episode, but we're gonna do it live. And we're going to do listener questions. So this could be a very quick episode if no one tunes in. Get back on the AI.
Got our friend on AI to ask us questions anyway, so it's fine.
He is always listening. So yes, what we're going to do is I'm going to stream it. This is True's idea. I'm slightly nervous about this, but I'm sure it'll be fine. We're going to stream it on social medias. It's definitely going to be on TikTok. We're going to see if we can stream on my TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook platforms because they're the main ones that I use. If Drew can help me find some software that we can do across all of them, it's going to be 7:00 on Friday, the 11th. I think is it?
Yes, Friday the 11th.
Yeah. So at 7:00 Friday the 11th on all my social media platforms, we'll be streaming the live Property Empress podcast, and basically you can ask questions and it'll be a bit I've not even thought about that. It'll be a bit like my property Q&A that I do on TikTok on the live TikTok, but it's for the podcast. Yep.
And then we'll cut it up. I say we.
Yeah.
You will cut it up over the weekend and then it'll be our final podcast of the season.
Yes.
We'll have a little break for the summer. Yes, but we will do it as a live.
So if you can't make 7:00 on Friday, you're very welcome to send us in your questions. You can send it to, there's a contact form on propertyempress.com, or you can go to any of the platforms and message me directly there, or you can email at anna@annapierce.com if you want to send, and you're very welcome to send your questions in early and then watch anyway if you want. But if you want to be, I hope this is going to be okay. I'm just like 4 or 5 different platforms and it'll be fine. But yeah, so that's what we're going to attempt anyway.
Yeah. And if you can't tune in on Friday the 11th at 7 p.m, then we will be having it next Monday on broadcast on the podcast platform and wherever you get your podcast from normally. And it will be there.
Yeah.
But that is it for today's.
Yeah.
So thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ChatGPT, for all of your help as well.
Yeah.
It says you're welcome. We'll see most of you who can make it on Friday the 11th for our live event. Otherwise, we will be speaking to you next Monday on our podcast. So thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Have a lovely week.
See ya.
Bye.